You're listening to the TPAC Inside Out podcast brought to you by the Tennessee Performing Arts Center. In this episode, TPAC CEO Jennifer Turner talks with Metro Nashville Public Schools Principal of the Year, Dr. Ricki Gibbs. Dr. Gibbs discusses his school, Warner Arts Magnet Elementary, and its unique arts partnership with TPAC. Their conversation is pulled from a recent Salon Series event presented on Zoom.
My name is Jennifer Turner. I'm the president and CEO of the Tennessee Performing Arts Center. I'm here for our final Salon Series, so we're really happy to have you all join us tonight. Warner Elementary has been such a great partner to Tennessee Performing Arts Center, and you and I met at our partnership luncheon in February, and it just has been wonderful to see all the great work that we've been doing together and the partnership that's formed between you and our team. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Warner? And for those of us that don't know as much about Warner, tell us a little bit about the school and you.
All right, perfect. Good evening, everyone. If I haven't had a chance to meet some of you, my name is Ricki Gibbs. I have the honor and privilege of leading the work and serving the East Nashville community at Warner Arts Magnet Elementary. I was born and raised in Miami. I came to Tennessee because I played football at Tennessee State University, and that's where I earned my undergraduate in elementary education as well as a master's in administration and supervision. I earned a doctorate of education from Lipscomb University here in Nashville. I served as a third grade teacher at Paragon Mills. I was an assistant principal for 5 years, and I've been an executive principal for 6 years. This past year, because of the hard work and dedication of all of what we call our educational heroes, you referred to them as teachers, at Warner Arts Magnet Elementary, I was given the honor of being recognized as Metro Nashville Public Schools Elementary Principal of the Year. And I tell people that's an award that is strictly shared with all of my staff and that whole East Nashville community, because my staff does the hard work every day with educating our boys and girls, ensuring they get an arts integrated education. And then that East Nashville community has gathered around us and supported us. So that's a little bit about who I am. Now, Warner Arts Magnet Elementary, some of you may know the school as Warner Enhanced Option. Our school was built in 1892. So our school is one of the few facilities in East Nashville that survived, I would say the big tornado, but we just had another big tornado, and we made it through again, as well as the fire in East Nashville that hit in the early 1900s. Warner, for the last, I would say, 10, 15 years, has been a struggling school. The boys and girls that serve our school, 90% of them come from Casey Homes, the housing project in East Nashville. Warner sits in the middle of a zip code 37206 that's 66% white, but Warner has historically been 99% black. A lot of the boys and girls that attend Warner come from economically disadvantaged homes, so they come presenting certain struggles. 2 years ago, our district was awarded the Magnet School Assistant Program grant. A lot of people refer to it as MSAP, and that helped begin the transitioning Warner into the only arts magnet elementary in Nashville. And within those 2 years of us starting to really push the arts and ensure that our boys and girls received a great arts integrated education, Warner has gone from a level 1 school, which is the lowest in the state of Tennessee, to a level 5 school, which is the highest in the state of Tennessee. And this past year, Warner was one of only 12 elementary schools that met our key performance indicators, known as KPIs, from the district in literacy and numeracy. And Warner Arts Magnet had the highest number of students meeting their growth goals in Metro Nashville amongst every K-8 school in the district. So when we talk about the power of an arts integrated education, we're seeing it firsthand at Warner. And one of the things that's really exciting, most of the time around our country, wherein you hear of a school that has fallen into priority status, or you hear a school that serves a really large economically disadvantaged population, the first thing people do is remove the arts and say, you need to spend more time on literacy and numeracy. Warner is showing and is creating a new wave in education, showing folks that removing the arts actually hinders progress, because we see it all the time. These schools that are in priority status that are focusing more on literacy and numeracy, they stay in priority status. They still don't move. But you have a school that was in priority status, had been historically struggling, shift the culture, shift the level of instruction, focus in on an arts integrated approach. And now that school is getting some of the best results in the city. So that's a little bit about our school. And I tell everyone, it has nothing to do with me or my leadership. I'm surrounded with a great group of, again, I call them my heroes, but our great group of teachers that do the hard work, that have engaged in our partnership with TPAC, has taken the time to really grow out units to ensure our boys and girls can engage at a high level.
That's amazing. I am so intrigued. Miami to Tennessee State University. What was your biggest culture shock going from Miami, thriving cosmopolitan city?
I'll say I can give you two answers. I can give you the Dr. Gibbs answer, and I can give you the Ricki answer, because they both were two big culture shocks.
I want the Ricki answer.
All right. Well, the Ricki answer is, it's easy. Coming from Miami and coming to Tennessee State, Nashville prides itself as being a really progressive and fast-moving city. This was the slowest thing I ever seen in my life. It was super slow. I had never seen anything like it. I mean, in Miami, everything is fast-paced. Mm-hmm. You have your libation stores stay open 24/7.
Really?
Oh yeah. I didn't know those type of stores closed until I came to Nashville. Because I had never seen it. They stay open 24/7 in Miami. Just everyone is always on the go. The nightlife is just always so huge. So that was a little shift coming, but I adjusted and realized Nashville was the perfect place to raise a family. So that's why I stayed.
And so tell me again, you got your degree there and then your master's degree both at Tennessee State. Yeah. And then you went to Lipscomb for your doctorate.
Yes. Okay.
And did you always know you wanted to be a teacher?
No, actually, when I came to college, because I was a football player, I also wanted to be a speech pathologist. And I tell people it was one of the most disheartening conversations I ever had. I went to go to the orientation, and someone in the speech department told me because I was a football player, I should think of another major because I wouldn't have enough time. And it was disheartening. That's why I tell people so much, like, especially when we start talking about arts integration and really telling kids to really push and pursue their dreams, because that person knew nothing about me. That person didn't know I scored a 27 on the ACT when I was in the 10th grade. That person didn't know I graduated with a 4.4 GPA coming out of high school. But she just saw a football player and said, well, this is not for you. But God doesn't make mistakes, and it wasn't in his plans for me to do that. It was in his plans for me to do this. So after having some conversations with my mom and talking about what changed my life, education was what changed my life. So I said, well, I'll be that person for the next little Ricki coming through and help change their life through the power of a great education.
Oh, I love that. My father is a teacher. And I have three of my aunts were teachers. They're all retired. So teaching's been a big profession in my family. So we love our teachers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got a great group of them that do the hard work.
Yeah, and you were third grade teacher then?
I taught third grade at Paragon Mills Elementary in South Nashville for 4 years. I tell everybody, if you give me the same salary, I'll go back and teach third grade tomorrow. I love my time in the classroom. Just when I started thinking about impact in education, I knew that if I wanted to have a greater impact, I would need to transition out of the classroom. But that was just my journey. But I absolutely love teaching third grade.
One thing that I keep thinking about, with COVID, I mean, this has been just so crazy for all of us, and the way that it's impacted us, not only professionally, but personally. And, Anderson, my nephew, has been home and, doing his kindergarten lessons remotely. He's in kindergarten, or he just graduated.
Finished it up, yeah.
But it's just the teachers. I mean, how challenging for them to switch to that classroom environment, to a remote environment. What has it been like for the Warner teachers to make that adjustment?
It's been a struggle. I mean, to be honest, it's one that we're doing our best to truly engage our learners. But one of the things that I've consistently told educators, I've told parents, as well as community supporters across the land, as we're transitioning to doing some of this stuff virtually, there's power in doing it virtually, so you can keep students kind of where they are, but it's extremely hard to teach students new content through the virtual platform, especially when we're talking our pre-K, kindergarten, first, second grade students. So much of the work we do with them is hands-on, so it becomes a struggle. And then for us personally, when you're talking about integrating the arts into teaching and learning, we've been able to do some of those things virtually, but the excitement and the lore and what grabs you about the arts is being that face-to-face interaction, being able to, laugh and joke and be silly, interact. And again, you can do some of those things virtually, but it's been a struggle for us to truly find our kind of niche in that groove. But if we are going to have to start the school year this way, that's what we'll use the month of July for, to truly work on how we're going to do that. The good thing is, because of that partnership with TPAC, we had a week-long institute and we did it virtually. So we were able to, kind of really look at some strategies. And as adults, we had a blast virtually. So we was like, okay, we can use some of this when we start working with our boys and girls if we have to use the virtual platform. So just that, even just something as simple as that, our partnership with TPAC and we switched what we would normally do the institute face-to-face and moving that virtually showed us that, you can engage in the arts in a virtual atmosphere. It just takes some extra thought process to truly make it fun and worthwhile for everybody involved.
Well, the effort is definitely worth it, but I hear you. I mean, that's how we're feeling too. I mean, we use the arts as a way to connect people and put people together in a same space for a shared experience. And This is so hard. It's frustrating.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then I kept thinking too about being a teacher or, a principal or administrator, and the kids coming back and trying to do masks and hand washing and all of those other things. And I thought, it's hard enough trying to figure this out for a theater, but I couldn't imagine trying to do it for the kids.
Well, the good thing is we've been preaching washing your hands all the time, and especially in elementary school. So hopefully this helps us really focus in on making sure that our babies are washing their hands and everybody is, keeping germs down. But that's the hard part, especially when we talk about the arts integration, because one of the things that's exciting about Warner, we use the arts to change the narrative about school. So many students that come from economically disadvantaged families or just traditional school, you hear those stories of, man, school is boring. I do the same thing over and over. But when you come to Warner and you say, oh, I have guitar practice today, or in school we learned a new dance and we learned ballet when we were in dance, or we worked on tumbling today, or even like our second grade team has perfected a strategy, called hot seating, where you take a character from a story and you put them in a hot seat, and that's a character who didn't have a loud voice in that story, and everybody gets to ask those characters different questions that have been just in our mind, and that the child that's in that seat takes on that character personality. So we've used the arts to truly engage students and help them think critically and change the narrative about school. So when we talk about pushing it to the virtual setting, it's kind of like, we're doing it because that's what we're tasked with doing right now. But if you ask me, is this my favorite thing to do virtually? I'll tell you no, because being able to walk in class and see boys and girls having an amazing time because they are taking up what's considered a core academic subject, but integrating the arts into it and just seeing that fun take place, that's the magic of school to me, and that's been the magic of Warner. My team knows that I'm big on, if you're not having fun with it, that means our scholars are not having fun with it. And if you're going to truly do the arts correctly, if you're going to truly have an arts integrated approach in education, it has to be fun because the arts are fun.
Absolutely. And what's so great too about the Warner Arts Magnet is that you're doing this in the classroom, but then you're also coming to TPAC. You've been coming to many of our performances for our Season for Young People. And the students then get to have that value of a live performance, but also the hands-on experience in the classroom. And what do to you, what does that value, like the live performance experience, like how is that meaningful for the kids?
Yeah, so I've shared this with some of my principal colleagues all the time, and I tell them our babies have an advantage when we go to the show, because especially when we have our teaching artists come and visit the school and work with our boys and girls and give them some of that background knowledge of the show they're getting ready to go see. Our boys and girls, when they do go to the show, they go with a higher level of appreciation because they understand what the characters are doing. They understand, the plot of the performance and what's the build up. So it goes from just strictly going to a show for enjoyment of, hey, we have a field trip, we're out of school today, to, hey, let's go to the show that we're going to enjoy, but we have knowledge about it. So now after the show, we can engage in another level of conversation about the performance and have a deeper appreciation of the art that we're watching on stage. So it's an opportunity where we connect everything together. Similar to, I'll tell you, if you read a story and then, you watch the movie and you try to compare and contrast, our boys and girls tend to do that. They think, well, we talked about it this way, but when they were on stage, this happened. And it creates a really neat conversation with our young people. And it just begins to spark their brains. One of the hardest things to teach in elementary school is how to infer information. So inferencing, and through the arts, it comes so natural because there's things that are happening in performances or when we're acting something out that there's the unknown or the unspoken, I should say, and our boys and girls have to infer that information. So that's been the neat part of seeing as a former third grade teacher, knowing how difficult it is to teach how to infer information and how difficult inferencing is. But with the arts, it's been able to just connect so easily. And that's one of the biggest things that we take when we come to the live performances.
Oh, I love that. I never thought of it that way, but you're right. It does. That's a great skill that the arts can really help bring out in people.
Absolutely.
So I know that our teams really work well together. We love your group and your teachers, and our teaching artists love working with you guys. How do you build that trust together? How do you form that great teamwork together? What's the foundation for that?
Respect. I tell all administrators, everything has to be founded on respect. My team will tell you I'm the principal, and I always put that in air quotes because It's one that I don't believe in roles when it comes to teaching and learning. I don't believe in a hierarchy when it comes to teaching and learning. My team know that we'll do everything as colleagues, and that's what helps build our approach to the work. Just because I'm the principal and I'm the quote unquote leader doesn't mean I have all the answers. Doesn't mean I'm always right. Actually, I'm wrong a lot of the time. But the thing about it is I've surrounded myself with people who don't mind telling me when I'm wrong, who don't mind telling me, hey, you need to think wider. You need to think about the greater impact, who will tell me, Gibbs, it's not about you. It's about the experience for our scholars. So when you can build a team like that and everything is built upon respect and we all view each other as colleagues, it makes the work more fun because we create an environment that if I win, everybody win. Mm-hmm. But if you lose, I lose too. So it's one that it's not about a competition. It's about just supporting each other and wanting to see everybody win, with the thought process that when you shine bright, my light shines as well. So when we tie that into the arts, it takes all of us to make our performance work. It takes all of us to make our school progress. And if one person decides that they're going to be the star and they're the only thing that matters, it messes up the whole show. So it's really bringing in all of those arts integrated principles. But we build everything off of respect. And if you build off of respect, everything falls in line.
I heard first of all, I completely agree. And I feel the same way. You have to have a team that can push back at you and tell you when you're wrong, tell you when you're off course. And we all want the same things. We all want what's best for our respective organizations and for the greater community as well. So if we're accomplishing those things, we're in good shape.
Agreed.
So I heard we pushed your team to do a little bit of songwriting. Is that true?
Yeah, songwriting, dancing, grooving to the music, grooving to beats, coming up with our own drum and beats, you name it, we did it. And that's one of the things that I tell everybody, the exciting part of the Institute that has that direct connection with what we do during our school day. As adults, we are so oftentimes we're focused on all the responsibilities of education because we have outcomes we have to deal with. We have state mandates, district mandates, you have principal mandates. It's a bunch of mandates. Mm-hmm. So we're always like drill. And one of the fun things about the Institute is we have to take a step back and put ourselves in our scholars' shoes, because we ask them to be vulnerable all the time. We ask them to act out something. We ask them to role play. But as adults, somebody asks us to role play, we're not quick to raise our hand. So one of the great things about the Institute is that we're all put in that environment where, hey, put down any, reservations that you have. This is about, we ask the boys and girls to be silly and enjoy the art. So let's do it as well. And by putting ourselves in that situation, it just sets the stage. So when we ask our boys and girls to do it, we have the ability to lead by example. So if I put on a beat and tell all our boys and girls, kind of like we did in the Institute, I put on a slow beat and say, okay, I want to see how you move to it. And I'm moving slow, but then the beat starts moving faster and I got to start moving faster. I'm okay with doing it because I've done it and I know how it feels to be vulnerable. And as adults, when we model it, our boys and girls tend to be ready to jump right in because if they see us having fun, they think it's fun too. So that was a neat part of the Institute, just having those experiences to do all those things.
Did it take a few people out of their comfort zone for a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll say, and that's the great thing. I'm an extrovert, so I get energy about being around people and being loud and being silly. That's kind of who I am. But we have some teachers that are real introverts that really, that's not their thing, especially not in front of adults. They'll tell you now when they're with children, oh, they can do it all day. But doing it in front of other adults is not their scene. But, you know, that's the beauty of it. When you have people who are dedicated to this work, who see the power of what an arts integrated education can do for the lives of our scholars, they're willing to put down the me for the we. And that's the exciting part about our team.
And I've heard this term used before from someone on our team. What is the Warner way? How do you
That's our hashtag, the Warner way. So when you say you're doing things the Warner way, it's all about fun. It's about having fun. The Warner way is highlighting the arts. The Warner way is telling people that you can transform and turn around a school through the arts. So by removing the arts, you're hindering our boys and girls. The Warner way talks about respect at every level. The Warner way talks about having high teacher morale. The Warner way is it's an embodiment of the beauty of what an arts education offers the boys and girls of our city. So when you see us hashtag things the Warner way, it's just an out of the box approach to educating children and letting people know that whatever narrative you heard about school being boring, that's not the Warner way. Because if you do it the Warner way, you're going to enjoy school.
I like it. I'm inspired. I'm trying to think of some hashtags for our team now. I mean, we're using Arts at Heart has really been our hashtag since COVID, but you know, even just internally to kind of get people motivated and everybody, you know, behind the same goal. I think that's really cool. I like that.
Appreciate it.
So you are the first arts magnet in Metro Nashville. And what was that?
At the elementary level.
What was that process? What was that like? How did you go through that process to become that?
Yeah, so when the district was awarded the MSAP grant, Warner was one of the schools awarded the grant, and part of that grant process was how can we truly transform a school, but also embody what East Nashville is all about? How can we transform a school and do something different that can change the narrative? And I wasn't a part of that original conversation. I came on the back end, but the original folks knew that if we had the opportunity to integrate the arts, it could be a different approach to really help boys and girls be successful. And then I came on board, and it was kind of like, all right, this hasn't really been done, because if you see most, turnaround schools, they're not talking about the arts. If you see most schools that serve a high economically disadvantaged population, those not the schools that people truly push the arts at. So I told them, if we're going to do this work, we have to do it right. And then, because I know it could be life-changing, because I've seen the approach happen. So it's been exciting, especially being the only elementary arts magnet. We're starting to have the conversation and let everyone know that we need more. That's the beauty. As Warner continues to be successful, it's setting the stage for us to really begin to have conversations with policymakers and legislators to say, hey, this is something that you want to look at funding, because that's the reason we had Mayor Cooper and Governor Lee, as well as Commissioner Schwinn, all visit the school last year, because so often the priority schools don't have those experiences. And being at an arts magnet and seeing how quickly the turnaround has happened, everyone, and it's funny because when everyone visits, they have the same question: what's the secret sauce? And I tell everybody, well, obviously, step one is to have great educators. So shout out to my team. Like I say, I'll keep bringing them up because they do an amazing job. They make me look good. I tell people I just wear the suit and high five the kids all day. I guess next year I have to elbow bump them. I can't high five. And then the second part is making sure that you have great partnerships, because we can't do this work alone. I tell educators all the time, one of the biggest lies ever told in education was focus in on your four walls, only what happens in your school, and you can transform a school. And education is a microcosm of society as a whole. So you have to reach outside your building. And I tell people, when we start talking about partnerships, just because we dig into the arts so tough, just being able to have that partnership with TPAC. And I'll be remiss if I didn't shout out Lee, because Lee was, she set that foundation of just making sure that we had that person at TPAC that we could always reach out to get that information and do those things. And now with Laddie and both Amandas, we continue to build that. And obviously with you, Jennifer, like it's part of that, having people in the community that you can lean on to help, just kind of bounce ideas off of has been critical. Because while we're an arts magnet and we push an arts integrated approach to education, TPAC has artists who live arts all day, every day. So being able to share that thought process and bounce ideas has been crucial. So when people talk about the secret sauce, great educators and great partnerships is the way that you transform schools.
It's really interesting you say that, because we've been talking a lot about just even performing arts centers about being sort of that four-wall approach, where we wanted, back in the day when they were first built, they were built as a destination. We wanted everyone to come to us and to be inside of our walls. And then it's just been, over the past, 10, 15, arts education programs have been doing it forever, but that the people in my seat have been really looking at the value of these community partnerships and relationships and how important they are for the overall success of the institutions. Because you're right, we're all community, the schools, the performing arts centers, everyone who lives and works and operates in our community, we all need each other. We're an ecosystem that is dependent and interrelated. So, for us to work together, it's natural and we see the benefit for it. But I wish others would see all the, the great things that come out of it like we do.
Yeah, well, and that's Warner's role, because no matter where you are in the world and what you do, everyone loves a great success story. You think about everyone's favorite movies, it's that movie where the one that was counted out becomes top dog and reigns supreme. And that's Warner's story, and that's Warner's story through the arts. So you can't talk about Warner's success without talking about the great educators that are doing it. And you can't talk about it without the arts integrated approach that's happening. So that's the exciting part. So as we talk to, people in power for funding and legislation and things of that nature, we consistently make sure that we talk through those processes, because one doesn't happen without the other. Warner doesn't have turnaround without an arts integrated approach. Warner doesn't have turnaround without dedicated educators who are willing to be vulnerable and partner with others to learn more about the work. So that's exciting.
So when you have, Governor Lee or Mayor Cooper or someone new coming into your school, they're walking into Warner, beautiful, historic, gorgeous building. What indicates arts? What do you see, for all of us on the Zoom that can't, take this walk, we're going to take this walk virtually. What do we see that screams arts to you?
All right. So I'm going to start off with something. Once this pandemic is over, I invite everyone on this call to come to Warner, 626 Russell Street, Nashville, Tennessee, 37206. Come and experience it firsthand, because as I talk through it, I can make it sound good, but I promise you, I'm not doing it justice. When you see it and you walk in, you just feel the excitement, and that's the exciting part. From when you walk in the front office and you see the ballerina hanging on the wall, letting you know that there's something different about this school. Till you walk out in the hallway and you see murals that just express artistic beliefs. You can take stairwells and you'll see art pieces hanging up. You go downstairs and you see you're in an elementary school, but you have a world-class dance studio with a Harlequin floor.
Love
it. Classes all around. So now you have a real-life dance studio inside of elementary school. You go to the music room and you see students practicing Chinese drumming or working on vocals or just our music teacher is a big percussion guy. So any type of percussion instrument, you see our boys and girls digging into that. Not to mention if you go upstairs to our art studio and you walk in and you used to seeing an art classroom, but then we have a separate room inside the art studio where we have a pottery wheel. You see play projects. So you see our boys and girls being exposed to different mediums in art that they normally don't get. But then where the real power hits for other educators, we can take you through our arts programming and all of the extra things we offer. This fall, you will walk through the school and you will see our kindergartners playing strings instruments because strings is part of our offerings now, as well as guitar. But then you go to the classroom and you see a literacy lesson that normally students would just be sitting in their seat with their books and going through literacy and all the parts of literacy. But now you see them up, moving around, still talking about the same content, but are having fun with it because they're creating roles, they're having conversations, they're taking a topic and just digging deeper into it and figuring out how they can integrate the arts and have fun in the topics. So you see all those things when you walk through the school and you ask yourself, how was this school ever a school that was struggling? Because this doesn't feel like a struggling school. And that's the beauty of what an arts integrated approach gets you. It truly begins to help change the narrative because it changes mindsets. So when you talk about you're integrating the arts, it's really you're changing a child's mindset of what school can be all about. And the fun part is when the boys and girls go home and start talking to their parents, and some of their parents have had negative experiences in school, and they come in and say, man, I wish school was like this when I was in school. That tells us we're on to something. And that just means as we continue to dig into this work, we have to be the ambassadors across the country in education so more people can understand the power of a quality arts integrated approach to education.
It's amazing. Did you play an instrument when you were growing up?
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this, so I hate that you even asked me this question. But I played the clarinet, and I'm actually still really good at the clarinet. But when you're 6 foot, 240 pounds with a bald head, most people don't expect you to grab a little clarinet and play. So I don't play often anymore. But growing up, I played the clarinet.
Oh, that's amazing. I played the flute for a very short amount of time. And then I got my nephew an accordion for Christmas.
Oh,
just a little like mini accordion.
Oh, yes.
But, I think I mostly buy him instruments that will annoy my brother. So I hope he takes up something. I'm trying to be his arts influence. So.
We definitely do an accordion unit.
Do you?
Yeah, every year.
Okay. I'm going to bring him back maybe when we're all back through this COVID. Because, my mom played when she was younger. She took lessons. So I thought it would be fun for him to have like a little one.
Yeah, our 3rd and 4th graders do it every year.
That's amazing. I love that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you one more question. And I know that we have questions on the chat for everyone. So you not your absolute favorite, but we're at TPAC. We do a lot of musical theater and everything. So what is one of your favorite or something that really moved you on the stage? Like, what's one of your favorite pieces?
As far as just the
like music or theater, yeah, something like that. Whatever you'd like to talk about.
I'm one that I've learned to take appreciation in everything. So it's been different. But I guess one of the biggest things that I can say, last year when it was was it Little Red Riding Hood play, and it was actually disappointing because I had created this big to-do, and as we dig into the arts, one of the things that I wanted to do was to figure out a way to jump on stage and surprise our boys and girls as the big bad wolf. But I didn't get a chance to do it. But it's one of the things that when I think about the arts and the things that TPAC offers for our students, it's an imaginary world that becomes reality. Thinking even from myself, I grew up in a single parent household in Liberty City in Miami. And I grew up in poverty, so the arts was never something that I really engaged in as a child, because I thought it was only something that, affluent people did. You would see people go to Broadway shows and things of that nature, and that was just never something that I had access to. So when we have the opportunity to take our boys and girls out of our school and they get to go to TPAC and they get to see performances and engage with the artists, one of the things that I take away from it, and I get personal pleasure in, is just that the level of exposure to the arts that TPAC is willing to give, not only Warner, but boys and girls across Nashville, or even I would say across Middle Tennessee. So and especially we have, scholars that come from these rural areas, and they're probably like me, that the arts, they see that as this far off dream where actors and actresses do their thing, and these are famous people that create these environments. But TPAC brings that to them. And so just that level of exposure is something that is deep down in my heart that has always been meaningful, and that I just continue to be extremely grateful for, because it brings that imaginary land to real life and tells our scholars that if they work at it, they can achieve anything they set their minds to.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And we love doing it. Let's take some questions.
All right.
You ready for that?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Let's see what we've got here on the chat. Okay. Let me see. What is your strategy or goal for recruiting the best teachers at Warner?
My strategy is simple. I believe great teachers attract and help retain other great teachers. So I let my team handle most of their recruitment and hiring. Now I go out and preach our message and ensure that if you're going to work at Warner, you don't have to have an arts background, but you have to be open to engaging in the arts. You can't come to an arts magazine and say, well, I don't want to do this art stuff. Well, you're at the wrong school. So we make sure that is known on the front end. But I'm a true believer that great teachers want to be around other great teachers. So by letting my team members recruit, that helps bring in folks. And that also creates a different level of accountability. If I hire you and I know nothing about you, if we have a disagreement, we just have a disagreement, and you can say, oh, I'll quit tomorrow, I don't care. But if your friend recruited you to our school and we have a disagreement, now you have that responsibility to your friend, and you're more prone to just come into our culture to say, hey, well, let me just have an honest conversation about what's bothering me. Or let me have an honest conversation of really working through how do I understand this arts integrated approach because I want to be my best. So that's my strategy. I let great teachers go out and recruit other great teachers when we have vacancies. We don't have any vacancies for this school year. So we had 0 turnover. So that's always a plus, and that's normally unheard of in Metro schools.
And they have to embody the Warner way, which which I really like.
Absolutely.
Were there any challenges in getting your entire staff and students on board with your whole school arts integration effort school-wide?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Part of the challenge was, and all transparency, getting me to say, hey, understand this approach. And to know me, to know I have a sports background, I'm passionate about school turnaround. And so I'm big on digging into making sure that boys and girls have a solid foundation in literacy, have a solid foundation in numeracy, and can attack the work and handle some real world strategies. So when we talked about engaging in the arts, and I had never truly dug into an arts integrated approach, it took some people talking to me about, hey, think differently. And it was teachers that basically said, Gibbs, I'm seeing this work. Like, give it a chance. Read on it. Like, do some research. Have some conversations. And once I was able to begin to see that work, it helped move some of the teachers that were on the fence about it. It helped move them along a lot quicker, because when your leader isn't a believer, it creates where anybody who doesn't agree, they feel like they have ground to stand on because the leader isn't on board. So once I was able to educate myself, and that's part of it, when you haven't been around the arts and you truly don't know the impact that the arts integrated education can have, once you get educated on it and you see tangible outcomes, and that's the thing in education, what kind of tangible outcomes are created? That was always my conversation. Once those tangible outcomes are created, then excitement follows.
And how are your students selected to attend Warner?
So we have a two-pronged approach, and as long as I'm the principal and as long as I have a say in it, I'm going to always say we keep this approach. If you live in our zone 37206, so that's the Laughlin Springs area, the historic Edgefield area, as well as Casey Holmes, you automatically have a seat at Warner. And I want to always keep it that way because the arts integrated approach is helping change the lives of those boys and girls at Casey, and taking them out of that equation would be doing a disservice to them as well as arts in general. So if you live in our zone, you have an automatic seat. And as long as you live in Davidson County, you can apply to come to the school. And we normally have we normally have space where we can bring in another 150 students on top of our zone students.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so if you're in Davidson County and you want your child to have an arts integrated approach in their elementary education, 9 times out of 10 we can get you in Warner.
Good to know. And how many students do you have total?
This past year we finished with about 240 students, and the building can easily hold 450.
Oh, wonderful.
So we definitely have space to grow.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
Let me see what else. How do your teachers work together to collaborate on integrating arts across all content areas?
Yeah, so we plan weekly. So that's part of our magic, and because we have extra related arts teachers, our related arts teachers have the opportunity to stop in on those planning periods to give their insight, as well as our related arts teachers meet every Tuesday morning and plan. We give them our unit plans for our core subjects, and they give ideas about how dance or music or art or even athletics can integrate into the core academic disciplines. So that happens on a weekly basis, but also once every 9 weeks, our teachers take a professional day and they just sit down and create a skeleton for that whole 9 weeks. And our arts department have an opportunity to come and chime in, or especially if the teachers know they're getting ready to do certain units. Let's say fourth grade is getting ready to look at the Revolutionary War. Well, that's perfect for art, dance, and music. So they figure out what parts of the unit that they would want to bring in our arts teacher with just getting different ideas. And they're able to collaborate and have those times to just talk through those ideas.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. And there's a question. How did you establish the partnership between Warner and TPAC? So you knew when you were going to become an arts magnet that you needed partners.
Absolutely. Yeah,
and you had been a long time HOT Season for Young People participant too, right?
Absolutely. So it's one of the, when we started talking about talking about strategic partnerships. So it was one that there were multiple I guess I would call them corporations that we looked at to say, okay, how does a partnership look with them? One, we look at make it mutual beneficial, but also, does the organization offer things that can have a direct impact on our teachers as well as our scholars? And TPAC stood out when it comes to having that impact on our teachers at a higher level. A lot of folks can do things and make the boys and girls come and have fun, and that's great. But how many organizations can have professional development for educators who were looking at integrating the arts inside their daily work and can do it in a manner that's fun as well as educational? So meaning that our teachers are learning through the work. And then as we dug into the partnership, I got to give a shout out. TPAC saw just with your strategic plan, has one of our literacy coaches from Metro Nashville, Amanda Page, that helps with some of the work as well. And just having somebody that has a literacy background with her knowledge, as well as passionate about the arts, gave instant credibility to the work with our teachers, because they knew somebody that had the same knowledge level they have when it comes to instruction, who was passionate about the arts, who saw the direct correlation and how it ties together. And it just helped build that foundation. So that's the reason we decided to create that partnership with TPAC, because we saw it being not only mutual beneficial, but we saw how it was going to have a direct impact for our scholars, but even more importantly, how it was going to have a direct impact for our educators. Because again, when we have a direct impact on our heroes, and when, again, I call them our educational heroes, we ensure that they have that impact for our boys and girls. Because when our boys and girls are telling the story of their life in 20 years, we want them to look back and say, man, one of the heroes that helped change my life was my third grade teacher. And I see her on the call, so I'm gonna shout her out, Miss Glaze. Because she did the work and she just made school so fun. And they're telling that story not knowing all of the background work and all the extra support that came in place from partnerships like TPAC to ensure that our teachers had the knowledge and skills to ensure that they have a great arts integrated education.
I think it's a story we don't tell often enough. I mean, we talk about the impact on a student, a single student, and that's important. It's key. We all know like what has influenced us and impacted us. But when we impact a teacher, think about how many students then are impacted from that direct result. And that's really exciting.
Yeah, and again, that's why we decided to establish the partnership, because it's one thing to have an impact on students, and that's great. And again, that's why we're here. That's the work, to impact.
Sure.
But when we can impact educators, now not only that group of 20 students that they have this year, but all of the years to follow will benefit from that knowledge and training. And that's where the power is created. That's when we start talking about sustainability. And when we're talking about how do we move schools forward, it's through strategies like that.
Well, we at TPAC are honored to be a part of this change and, making the world better for all of us. And I do want to recognize not only all of our great partners at Warner, but Lee and Laddie and Roberta and everybody at TPAC that has worked on this, all our amazing teaching artists. I mean, I was so impressed. I've only been with TPAC since about a year. And when I came and heard about this Warner program and all the great work that Lee had done with arts integration, I'm just so impressed. So thank you for being our partner. Thank you for spending the evening with us at our last Salon Series. And I can't wait to continue this conversation and come and visit Warner when we're all through this. Or I'll just get my mask ready and then I can come.
Yeah, there you go. Like I said, everyone has an open invitation. One of the great things about being an arts magnet is that we do this work all day, every day. So I tell folks, even when we get in tour season, and a lot of schools have certain days that they tour, the great thing about doing the work the way we do it Monday through Friday, 8 to 3:45. So whenever it's convenient for your schedule, I say just give me a shout. Let me know you're coming. And that way we can have somebody free to give you a tour. But we would love for anyone on the call to come visit the work, see why we're excited about the work, why all of East Nashville is excited about the work. And more importantly, you get to come and see how our boys and girls are changing the narrative of what school can be as they get a great arts integrated education.
Thank you, Dr. Gibbs. It has been an absolute pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. TPAC is a nonprofit organization with a mission to lead with excellence in the performing arts and arts education to enrich lives, strengthen communities, and support economic vitality. You can find our podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and online. For more information or to support TPAC's mission, visit tpac.org.